Class. It's something you're born into but don't become aware of until you're older. It's the sting of the realization that hurts, when you realize that people judge you for where you live. This is the house I grew up in, or what's left of it. Growing up in a place like this, you dream of the American dream, the idea that you have a chance to climb the ladder. But if we look at the data, the percent of children who go on to earn more than their parents is declining. In this map, we're looking at class mobility from a geographic standpoint. Class mobility is represented as the probability an individual can move to the top 20% of household incomes, or about $95,000. The darker blue represents a higher probability, while the more intense yellow represents lower. Here we are looking at the entire country across all income levels. We see those in the Northeast, Midwest, Texas, and California have the highest likelihood of class mobility. However, we see that those in the Southeast have the least. If we filter to only those who were born into high-income households, we see those same regions increase their odds while the South lags behind. Now, when we look at low-income households, we see the South really stand out. When we look at the South on its own, we see those born in Texas have much more class mobility than anyone in the South. We can also see that those born in South Carolina to low-income households have some of the lowest class mobility in the region. If we look at the tri-state area of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, we see that there are some small clusters of class mobility around Atlanta and near Raleigh, but we don't see any of those in South Carolina. When looking at those born into low-income families, not a single county in South Carolina has even a 10% chance of making it to the top 20% of earners. Greenville continues to emerge as a hub in South Carolina, but it's not on the same playing field as a major city like Atlanta. The question then is, how do we give the people of South Carolina a fair chance? Welcome to Star. Blink and you'll miss it. Like so many small towns in South Carolina, the railroad created this town. The ghost of a small downtown reminds us of a railway town that once was. I grew up here, still live here, and I have no desire to leave. With so many places with better opportunities, why would I want to live here? The answer is buried underground. You see, running under all of that pasture is fiber. Star is designated as a smart rural community, meaning that it has been nationally recognized for how the community is using technology. Western Carolina Tel had the foresight to start laying fiber in Star in 2008. This means I have a direct fiber connection to my home that provides gigabit upload and download. One example where having a gigabit connection was an advantage was the Iron Viz competition. The Iron Viz is a data visualization contest, where 3 contestants build a data visualization on stage in 20 minutes. In order to make it into the final, a contestant must win one of 3 feeder competitions. I entered the Big Data competition, which required a data set with over 1 million records. I wanted to see which airports were most affected by precipitation. So I wrote a script to mine all of the flights for a year and all of the weather for every airport for every hour of each day. As you can imagine, a data set like that can be massive and end up being over 5 gigabytes in size. Now, to illustrate the advantage of a gigabit connection, this means that uploading the files to a server would take 1 hour and 11 minutes with a standard 10 megabit upload. A gigabit connection can upload the same file in 42 seconds. This really adds up when you only have 1 week to finish your submission. I went on to win the feeder competition and compete at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Now, I didn't win the Iron Viz final, but it definitely helped bring more recognition and allowed my work to be seen by recruiters. Since then, I've been able to work remotely on consulting opportunities with several Fortune 100 companies. Having access to a high-speed connection is a requirement for video conferencing and collaborating on work. This leads into the biggest advantage of a gigabit connection, being able to work remotely. In a survey by Owl Labs, 56% of all global companies responded that remote work is allowed. With so many remote opportunities emerging, it's critical to have a high-speed connection. People who choose to live in South Carolina can still have opportunities for high-skill work, despite not having access to major cities. The data from Opportunity Insights is for people born between 1978 and 1983, so it will be some time before we can see if investments like fiber internet will pay off. There are a multitude of factors that drive class mobility. And I don't want to imply that just having a high-speed connection will drive those changes. But if we can provide a higher standard for connectivity, particularly in rural areas, we may be able to help level the playing field.